Good afternoon. Thank you guys so much for coming today. My name is Angela Cardas. I'm from Cardas Audio from Bandon, Oregon in the United States. And thank you so much for coming to our Women in Audio presentation. We have a great panel for you today. And I'm just going to take a minute to introduce myself, and then I will pass it along to everyone else to give them a little background information on how we got here, how we ended up here. I have been in this industry since 1986. My father started Cardas Audio in Southern California, and I was the last one left at home. So I'm the youngest of three girls. And I was the only kid at home when my dad was testing all the cables. So we did a lot of A/B comparisons. I went to shows. I went to dealers. I was the tag-along since I was 9 years old. I went to my first CES when I was 13, and I never intended to be a part of this industry. No, I will not work for my father. I will not. I'm going to go out on my own. I went out into radio. I was in radio for about 10 years, and that's where I met my husband. We had a morning show, radio show in radio. And at a certain point, I do believe my dad had a long-term plan, and he asked my husband to make a video, because he was a videographer. So he made a how it's made sort of video for Cardas Audio for our cables from beginning to end, and asked him to come to CES to present it, make sure the video worked on the TV, because just in case it didn't, they couldn't press play. So he invited my husband, Josh, and then it turned into, well, why don't you come work for us? So my husband started working there in 2009. And of course, about 5 years later, I was in business as well. So he got his long-term plan, and it was much to my chagrin, but I love it. I love this industry. I love how inclusive it is, and I really do feel like we are making strides in every sense of the term. I have a very positive outlook on the future of our industry, and this panel being one of those positives. So I'd like to pass it along. Please introduce yourself, how long you've been doing this, how you got here, etc.
Thank you, Angela. Thanks for the invite. Thanks for being here. I'm Amelia Santos. I'm Innuos CEO and co-founder. I got into this industry, I would say part of the sector, because part of the industry is loving to hear music way long before, in 2009. I'm a computer science engineer as a background. And I started at SAP, so I had a career in IT, consulting, business development, sales, strategy for the board, then moved to Germany as well. And did an MBA, Singapore, France, then moved to London to work with Tesco, doing strategic projects for them. Then was part of the leadership team, running the online channel. And at one point, at home, I had someone also passionate for music, that decided, also a computer science engineer, that decided to build a streamer, a music server for us at home, because we couldn't find something in the market. And that's how it started. We realized that we were not the only ones looking for a solution like that. So we built it out for kicks. He put it on eBay. We were living in London, just to understand. And after 6 months, he had sold 200 units. So I had to sush him all the time from the dinner table where he was doing things. And at one point we thought, okay, maybe it's time for us to start something, to build the company, to get it going. So we decided to do that, abandon our corporate lives in London. He was a senior manager in Deloitte, managing big projects all around Europe. And we moved to Portugal, started the company, recruited the first persons in 2014. We were already working on the project since 2009. And here we are, 50 markets, about 50 people actually in the team. Really good to be able to give back. Social responsibility is also a core. And I've never really thought about being women or men, but we'll go into that. I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Daniela Manger. I'm with Manger Audio. I'm running the company since now more than 30 years. My father is the inventor of the Manger sound transducer, and I actually in the business I can't really tell when it starts because I grew up with his development and invention, and I studied electrical engineering, and after my engineer degree, I really directly joined the business and overtook the company now 30 years ago. So we are manufacturing loudspeakers. We are located in Germany, and with this Manger sound transducer, we are doing something special in the huge market of loudspeaker, vast loudspeaker market in HiFi high-end business, and I'm still love to do it, and I'm happy to be here and discuss with you about women in HiFi. It's up to you.
Hi, I'm Jenny Jose. I'm from New Delhi, India. I've been in the business of high-end audio for 13 years now as a dealer and distributor. Originally, I studied journalism and worked as a news producer for about 10 years. And it was a joint shared passion between me and my brother for music that took us to starting Bass and Treble, a company that sold hand-picked brands from around the world, which was a rarity back then in India. And since then, we've come a long way, and we now represent some of the top brands, almost 25 of them in India as a dealer distributor. We mostly interact with the end customer and other dealers, and it's been a joy doing this. That's pretty much it.
Hi, I'm Linette Smith, and I'm from HiFi Pig magazine. You might have seen us around. We've got like a great big pink sign downstairs in the entrance hall. I got into this about 12 years ago. My husband started basically a blog, which wasn't really meant to be a business. It was just something to keep him occupied. And really what he knew about was music and hi-fi. We basically have been into music since the early 90s when we got in together. And we're into a lot of electronic music and dance music. And anyway, he started this blog, and after a while we realized that there might be a business there. And it just grew and grew, and basically he packed in his job, I packed in my job, and HiFi Pig is all we do now. So we do news, I edit all the news and run all that. We do hi-fi show reports, we do reviews, and yeah, we have like 250,000 readers every month. So yeah, we're kind of all over the place doing HiFi Pig stuff and reporting on all these amazing shows. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it by accident, because who would call a business HiFi Pig? But yeah, that's me.
Fantastic. One of the things I'd like to remind the audience, if you have any questions for us, we're 100% open for that. Just raise your hand, and the fine production folks will bring you a microphone so everybody can hear you. So one of the things that I've noticed here in Munich, we attend shows all over the world. And one of the things that I've noticed here in Munich is the diversity of the attendees. There are a lot of women. There's a lot of family, children participating in this show here. However, this is my 10th year attending Munich. I have not seen that same translation of diversity in terms of attendance in our shows in the United States. So one of the things I'd love to get your opinions on is how do we involve more women, more families in terms of diversity as well? How do we reach out to those younger people? One of the things that I have been involved in that I've seen a lot more women and younger people involved in is the headphone industry. And you go to the headphone shows, HiFi or HeadFi shows, you do see a lot of the younger women in their 20s, because I do think that the focus there is perhaps more on the music and enjoying it and maybe less on the equipment and its technicalities, but that's just my opinion. How do you think we get more younger women involved in our community? Jenny, I know you guys do a great job of reaching out to women in the purchasing. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, when we started, it was usually just the man who would turn up to buy the system. But it's not that we've done something to change that, but we've seen the change happening, that now usually every man who walks in to buy a system is accompanied by his wife or some woman from the family. And it isn't just for the look test. It's also for the sound test.
Yes.
And it's a joint decision, which is a great shift from how it used to be, or how I still see in here, actually. But in Delhi, or in India largely, we see that it's a family decision to buy a system. While that doesn't translate to women joining the business so much, which I see a lot of them here, but I think it's a rarity in India to see a woman in the business. But as far as being interested in what's going to be purchased, maybe because of the cost involved, woman is very much part of that decision. And what has been done to include more women? I think it just means going out shopping together. That's it.
Yeah.
And it helps that a lot of our stores are located in high-end home segment markets, which is where you also go to buy your furniture and a lot of things that women are interested in traditionally. Mm-hmm. And this just becomes a part of it. You know, what goes into their home is very much their decision too.
Fantastic. Daniela, do you see more women coming into the showrooms here in Munich?
I think part of is, or let's say a little problem is that the focus is very much on the technical part of the devices, equipment, and so it's all like in the car world. You have all the technical specification, and this is something what men are really like to be into and comparing and discussing, and the music is what we are manufacturing or distributing or talking about or writing reviews and news about. It's actually about music reproduction, but if you're at the high-end shows, my impression is always that the music is much more back, and the emotion when you're listening to music, it's not the main thing what exhibitions or sometimes manufacturers, for my opinion, seems to reach, because I know that, or what I realized, or we all realize, that it's also a hobby, a kind of a playground for the men, mm-hmm. and sometimes the women don't want to get into because it's too much. Not that they don't want to understand, but it's a kind of they want to be part of it, to do these changes and play around and improve system by technical specifications. They just want to enjoy the music, and this is something where sometimes the women, I think, really get out of it because it's not the thing they want to be. Probably I can't explain it so good in English, but want to be into it because. The result, the emotion, and what you can get out of the system should be this thing. And I think all we can try to do this a little bit, bring it into the content, and the original terms of high fidelity was always the close to the music reproduction, and even if I'm a woman and discussing technical things about the products you manufacture, it's finally we are happy when the people are happy and just forget about the techniques. But this step there, I think it's very difficult how we can bring women into business. Even if they go to many dealers, they are normally all men, and they discussing and talking about tech stuff. So I think it's really difficult, because also in advance I think a lot of and also my thoughts is because it's not only the women but also bringing younger people into this to enjoy the good and high quality music reproduction. But I think it's a long way, because also the way how we consume media in general has changed also nowadays. So I not really have a solution for it.
I don't think anybody does, but I would just like to say I'd like to thank you for participating in English on my behalf, because I'm not as smart as you, and I appreciate you lowering to English for me. So thank you. One of the things I'd like to say is the ease of use. You mentioned the ease of use in terms of entry into enjoying music in the home. So in our home, we have a very elaborate system, but it's in the living room. So we do not have it as a separate space in which a door gets closed off and no one else has access to. So while the system is, because of technicalities and the things that he enjoys putting together, it's a fairly technical system. However, the ease of use in terms of Rune and Cobas and these things that we're able to access in an easy way. Our son has been able to access our system and play on his own as long as he can remember. Because unlike my father's system, which was only a turntable with a needle, that I wasn't allowed to touch, now Luke can open up his phone and play whatever he wants on that. So we did talk about access, and what are you guys doing in terms of making things easier to access on a just purely let's listen to music in the home situation?
For us, it was very important to we focused basically on ease of use and sound quality, because we felt music was widely available to a lot of people through the streaming services. Some people stored it in computers. The thing was really, okay, so there's a lot of music. How do you access to it easily, and how do you just pick up an app and do that? So one of the things we invested very early on, we have 7 people just focusing on software development, and we keep thinking about features that we can add. One of them just we added was presets. You pick up your phone or the remote and you just choose, and it will start playing a playlist or a radio set or whatever it is that you put as a favorite in a preset. It's just an example. So we keep thinking about how to help people listen more to music and not have to fiddle with the system to be able to hear something out of it and keep the music playing afterwards. It's a lot about the user experience. And it's also about allowing people to choose their music when they go into our rooms. And one of the things that we try to do is, if we see a family, I remember Bristol, we did Bristol recently. We had a family going into the room and the little kid was just asking AC/DC. We said, yes, let's play AC/DC. Let them play. I remember Rocky Mountain a few years back. We had a group of students going into the room. They picked all the songs they wanted to hear. There's no right or wrong song. It's whatever moves you. So if we can create that experience when they come into the room, that they have an experience they'll remember because they heard that favorite song, but in a special way. We do the same thing in our sound room when we have visitors in the headquarters, allowing people to listen to music. And you were saying something also very relevant, which is having the hi-fi shops, having the shows connected to other areas that people enjoy. Like in the Nordics, they do a hi-fi show together with a show that is home design. Mm-hmm. So they get families. They get families that get tickets to the hi-fi show and they go to that. And probably a lot of them just experience it for the first time, which is amazing. So how do we bring those worlds closer together and the enjoyment of music, not just, yes, there's a technical side to it, but how do we make it easier? And it's the little kids also at home, they should be allowed to pick up a phone and sometimes not just to play music on the main system. We have a lot of customers that have multi-room around the home. So you have the main system, but they can also enjoy the music that is on the main system somewhere else in their bedrooms, or it's making it more widely available and getting it out just of listening through it on the mobile phone, because then they lose that connection to it.
Yes, we appreciate that. Now, Linette, how have you seen your readership change over the past few years? I know your website is very informative in terms of access to shows, and I know I go to your website to plan out my
To
calendar.
find out what's happening.
Yeah, so you are right on top of when all the dates are released for the shows going out for years. So I super appreciate that. But your reviews are very accessible. They're not written in a way that seems hoity-toity.
That's it. And we don't focus on, there is the technical aspect, because obviously people who are reading a review, they want to know how to use something and they want to know certain technical aspects, but we don't do measurements. We believe that basically that's the manufacturer's job. You know, they're going to test their equipment, they're going to send us the measurements of what it does, and, you know, we can put that into the reviews and the news. But I mean, I don't want to sit and read a review that just goes, well, this does this and this does this. And it just, you know, we want it to be exciting. It's how does it make you feel when you, like you said, when you play your favorite track on a new piece of equipment, and what the sound is like and how, you know, how it makes you feel. So, yeah, with that, I think that focus of it isn't just the nitty-gritty technical, sometimes, I mean, dare I say, quite dull stuff. Not everybody wants that. I mean, some sites do that, and there are people that like that, but there is a place for that. But I think that making it accessible for people to read about, making it exciting, making it interesting, making it attractive. So people, and I think a lot of manufacturers are doing that now. They're making gear that looks beautiful, and it's something that you want in your home, and you want that listening room that, like you said, it's not shut off to everybody else, like the man with one chair just listening to his system. It's there for everybody to use every day, but also even when it's not being used, it's something that looks inviting. So yeah, we try and feature that kind of thing, and we have seen we do get more followers that are women and younger people. And they are coming in to sort of go, I'm interested in that. And I definitely think as well, not talking down to people. So it's not like, oh, I know all this about this subject, but you don't know anything. If you're like that with people, then they're not going to want to learn anything. You need to be more open. So that it's just becomes something that people feel, well, I don't know about hi-fi necessarily, but I like music. I'd like to hear my music sound just the best I can hear it sound, but I'm not scared off by this. Because if some hi-fi can be quite intimidating, because you look at it and think, well, if I breathe on that wrong, that's just going to go poof. So if you make something that is accessible, it looks like it can be touched. So it's not this rarefied thing on an altar that only the man of the house knows how to interact with. So, yeah, I think that invites people in more, invites women and younger people in maybe that are not necessarily into the hobby. But also, it's we are seeing it changing. I mean, I've been going to shows for like 12, 13 years. We started going to shows. One of the first shows we came to was Munich, because we said if we're going to make this into a serious website, we have to go to Munich because it's the biggest show in the world. So we came to Munich, and at that time, so 2013, I think was the first Munich we came to, there were less women here, there were less kids here, but it is, over the years, there's a dramatic shift. I mean, there are still predominantly men at the shows, but you see couples, you see women on their own, and not just visitors. We're seeing a lot more women that are, there you can see that they're maybe reporting for a blog or for a website or a paper or whatever. So the demographic is definitely shifting, that there is a larger proportion of women and younger people, and that has to be nurtured and it has to be encouraged by being open to that and making things more accessible. And definitely the thing with the apps and the phones, that's the way the world operates now. You want to know anything, you pick up your phone. So if you can let people connect through something they're comfortable and familiar with, the big scary thing that is there
The
isn't
cliff, yeah.
as big and scary because you can control it and you don't have to have a degree in that to do it. So
And I do think that inclusion is really important. The big joke is, my wife hates my system. My wife hates my hobby, and my first question is always, well, where is your system? Oh, it's in a room. Well, how many chairs do you have? One. Okay. Well, have you invited her to this? Have you invited her to listen to her favorite song on the system? Oh no, she doesn't want to. Have you asked her? No. Okay, let's work on that. And one of those things is about this hobby is there is a budget to it, and if there is one person whose budget is focused on this, then yes, it can create some animosity.
Yeah.
And the connection that I make in our lives, because obviously we're both involved in the audio industry, is his hobby has been following a band around. So there's a band we saw 4 times on the way here, and he got online at 4:30 in the morning, bought all these tickets for these concerts, but he bought 2. So he bought 2 tickets to all of these shows. It wasn't 1 ticket, and he was going on this European excursion. It was, here's 2 tickets to each show to this concert, so we experienced this concert together. This wasn't a band that was one of my favorite bands. It's just a band, but he invited me into his hobby to experience that, and then therefore, this is girl math, I will fully say this, it split that expense, right? So it wasn't his expense of going to follow this band. It was our expense of visiting these different cities and experiencing it together as a split expense. And I feel like we're seeing that as well. The Florida show, we saw a couple that was shopping for an amp. Together, they were both shopping for an amp. So they got to go to each room and they had questions about the amps, and it was a shared expense.
Yeah.
And so I think that getting people to understand that this can be a joint hobby. It can be a hobby where one person is interested in the technical aspects of things and how they work and all the things, and another person is interested in hearing it and having the sound be as good as possible. Those two things can work together, and I think we're getting there.
That's kind of a bit like if you're going to buy a car or you're going to buy a settee or something like that. That everybody in the family, or at least the couple, like everybody's going to sit on the settee, everyone's going to drive in the car. So everybody kind of participates in that. It's not one person's thing.
Right.
So, I mean, why shouldn't HiFi be just like that? That everyone has a say in it, whether they want to be the person who wants to get into the nitty-gritty of how that DAC works or whatever. Or it's as simple as, I like the look of those speakers, I want them in the lounge. So, yeah exactly.
Absolutely.
And we're talking about music, right? So if you think music touches a lot of people. So it's not that is the HiFi, the technical part, like you're saying, is one of it, but is music. Who is not touched by music one way or the other? So it's an easy hobby to bring more people into it. I remember shopping for our HiFi together as well.
Yes.
You were describing that. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
And I do appreciate the inclusion of music as well, of not having a set list of here's the 5 songs that sound the best with these speakers or this set of equipment. And these are songs that I would never listen to in a million years, mouth clicks and drum beats and these things that, like, this is just not realistic. This is not what I listen to in my car, right? So I do appreciate Expona. I took a record, the Taylor Swift album, and I wanted to hear this particular song called Last Great American Dynasty. And I walked into each room with this album and they played it for me so I could compare and contrast. And the ones that didn't, I left, right? Like that was what I was doing that day. And if they didn't want to do it, that was great, no problem. But I was moving on to the ones who would humor me in that regard.
That's the thing I had to say, which I was saying earlier. As a manufacturer or as a seller, dealer, whatever, can you leave the judgment out?
Yes.
When a woman walks into the room with a man, can you address the woman? Yes. When you're explaining a system, it's very simple. Mostly I find people just talking to the guy and
simply introduce
not
yourself.
Looking at me when they explain the system. Look at the woman, talk to her, and leave the judgment out. There's no silly question. Wherever they start, it is, I think, our responsibility as people in the business to give them that knowledge, no matter which level they belong to, start from the basic. We're not that busy.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
And we found that with people coming into our booth here at Munich is couples will come in and the man will just immediately start asking you questions. And I will immediately answer that question and then say, "Hi, I'm Angela. How are you?" Introduce yourself to the person who's there, and you can see the person light up just for being acknowledged.
Yes.
Like, I'm not just this little tag along that happens to be dragged from booth to booth. Like, I like this too.
we used to find that at shows, though. Like, me and my husband would go into a room, and because I do all the news on our website, I know exactly what's going on. I know what products are new. I know what I'm hopefully going to see at a show, and I'm interested to come and see these new things and find out more about them. And we'd go into a room and they would immediately start talking to my husband, and particularly if this was about speakers, speakers are my thing. That's sort of the bit of the hi-fi that I'm really into. And they'd be like, da, 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 and he'd like, talk to her. She's the one who will make the decision about these speakers. She really likes them. So, and they're like, oh, but it's a woman. And it's like, yes.
Shocking.
So
I know.
it's shocking, isn't it? But that has changed over the years. That is becoming more, it's a person that's interested. It's not a man or a woman that's interested. It's a person that is interested in what I'm trying to sell to them. So, yeah.
And may have more than 50% of the say in how that budget is spent.
Yes.
We have a question here in the front row.
Hello, my name is Kasia. I'm from Warsaw, from the Unitra company. So I have just one comment, because it's a very nice discussion about the other side. But I also have this experience here that when I'm standing on my stand, then when all the men come to our stand, then just ignoring me.
Yes.
I'm the marketing manager and I know something, not all the technical stuff, and when somebody is ignoring me, I'm just, walking to this person and saying, "Hi, I'm here. I'm also know something about the products. Please ask me." And they are so shocked. So we have to also think about this, not only who is coming to the shows, but also about the women who are working on the stands and working at these companies.
Yes.
And we are also trying to change that way of looking at women. And it's very hard. You know, it's... Also, we have to believe in ourselves, because sometimes I feel like, I don't want to talk to this person. Probably he's smarter than me. But then I think to myself, that's our products. I'm the one who knows the most. And this guy who is just, entering the stand, he does not probably know that much about the product. So just this comment, and I have no questions.
Yes.
I'm listening and making some notes. Very happy to be here.
When we were discussing what the angle we were going to take from this is there are so many different angles. There is the do we want more women in hi-fi as participators in the purchasing end of things, or do we need more on the participating in the industry itself? There's so many different angles and so many ways of going about it. So yes, you're absolutely correct.
Hi, nice to see you all here. I'm Denise. I'm from Headphone Shop. I'm here with my colleague from Meze Audio. I've also worked with Meze Audio for a few years. And I do agree with everything that you guys said. And I think that, speakers can become a shared experience, together experience. But what about headphones, which is ultimately a very intimate experience? How do you get... And personal audio, which is very personal.
Yes.
What do you guys feel about getting women into headphones?
One of the things I'll take real quick and pass it along. The HiFi and also Florida Audio Show, they have a headphone section. They have been reaching out to college campuses, advertising on the college radio stations, reaching out to them just for knowing that these things are available. And these kids these days, I know what I'm talking about, but they start in their own heads and have the headphones, and music is so important to them, and you see it from the very beginning. So I do think that it is a way to reach out and maybe be a ramp up into our end of things. Do you have headphone experience? You do, I'm sure.
We've done shows also in HiFi. And I find it, you have certain regions where headphones are even more common because you don't have a lot of space at home, like Asia, for example. And I think sometimes it's even an easier way to start into hi-fi and to higher end sound experiences through the hi-fis, because you take it with you. It's probably more affordable than a full setup at home. You have more space. So definitely I think that, and the younger generation that you were mentioning is an easy start. So if we can expose them to better quality headphones, it's a great start.
Yeah, and headphones are great for us as I'm a cable company, and headphones are an amazing way to hear how cables can affect a system, and then bring that knowledge into a broader spectrum of listening.
Yeah, you can hear the difference on all the components, putting them through headphones as well. Sometimes people think, oh, it's just the speakers. No, the source, the cables, the amplification, everything will make a big difference on headphones as well.
I also think there's less judgment in that arena, like you were talking as well, because it's such a personal experience that you don't have someone judging you on what you're listening to, or any of that aspect, because it's a inward experience. So I do think that's a great way to get started as well.
I also think, while the mic is being passed, that since we're in the age of social media, I wish there were more influencers being used, young women influencers, which I do see some brands doing already, especially in the headphone space. And that is something that stereo could also replicate. But seeing more and more well-known faces, not necessarily from the music industry, but there are many who are into music, using high-end headphones would be a great way to get more young people interested.
Yeah, a representation as well.
Yeah, I obviously agree with everything that everyone said. I have the same things on my mind all the time as a marketing manager, basically. But I also wanted to ask, don't you guys feel like it's also the responsibility of manufacturers to create headphones that are made for women? Because me, for example, there's not many headphones that I can actually wear and listen to because they're so big and bulky. And I cannot enjoy the actual sound that people have created for that headphone. So I don't know, what do you feel about this? Should manufacturers also start thinking about this?
I think the representation, like we said, if the more we can get women to say like that, I wouldn't have thought of that. And I do think that the more we can get that message out there, that the current selections are not appropriate for us, and here's why. I think that getting that message across to manufacturers would definitely help in that regard. Definitely. Julie.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Julie. I write about audio news, have a column in Stereophile currently, but I'm also doing some other things in development, and formerly with the Absolute Sound and with Analog Planet sometimes too. Anyway, I can definitely relate to that experience with headphones. And I'm certain I mentioned it in a review that, okay, one pair I could get finally on the tightest setting actually worked and didn't fall off or flop around and not to mention the overall scale and everything else. So that's one thing I can definitely say is out there. And I really appreciate all the discussion, and also to mention that as a reporter and reviewer, just going around and getting the information I need, I really have to fight for someone to talk to, and I'm usually on my own when I'm going around. So it's getting better, but it's taken a while. But I've noticed some shift over time, but it still needs. Yes, there's a long way to go. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you.
Thanks for doing this, everyone. Yeah.
Very much. Anyone else?
Good evening, Sally Binnix, Vibrant Hi-Fi out of Dallas, Texas. We've talked about marketing and journalism and purchasing power of women. How can we as an industry reduce that decline of technical skills in our girls, in our children, and our grandchildren, and our nieces, so that it's exciting to be technical and not just about, oh, it's pretty, oh, it's cute, oh, it sounds great?
We did discuss this as well in terms of that accessibility is getting that first step in, right? So to get the first step, so say you're welcome to use this, here's where you can take the ramp up to learning how to use it and then delve in deeper. And I do think I have a 15-year-old, and the girls that are coming up these days are awesome, and they don't have that in the back of their head saying, I'm not really allowed to be here. They expect to be there, and they walk into a room and they expect to be given the same opportunities. In that, I've seen it from basically 21 down. These girls are awesome. They're bold. They walk into a room and they've never, I wouldn't say never, and I'm very much generalizing, but the girls I know who are under 20 at this time are very confident. And I see them at the HiFi shows, and I see them at these events, and they want to be part of the discussion, and they don't have that back of the head thing like I was raised with, like I learned that I'm an exception. I'm, as a woman in this industry, I'm an exception, and I don't want that to be. So I'm hoping that in the little ways that we can encourage these girls to do that. Do you see a way we can give them the more technical education, I guess, is what we should be promoting?
So being a computer science engineer, when I did my degree, I was 1 in 6 in a group of 200. I went back actually recently to speak at a breakfast because it was the Women's International Day in IT. There's more, but I think there should be a lot more. And one of the differences we discussed whilst I was there was the fact that women also women, I'm generalizing because I don't think it's women. It is. Some people need a sense of why they're doing technology for, not just for the sake of the technology, but why you're doing it for. And I think if you put that more into context, you get more people interested in how to get there, which is developing technology or using technology. It's kind of, what do you need to do good sound? What do you need to create something interesting from a health sector or for whatever it is? But give that goal. Explain to them, okay, you need to know these things if you want to solve this type of problems. And that makes it more tangible and more interesting for people that don't like technologies just for the sake of it. That has been my experience so far.
That's a very good question, by the way. And because I used to be a producer before, I think very visually. And I find that the visual of a woman doing how do I put it? Like, when did a male chef become cool or sexy? It's just the visual of a man who's cooking is so hot. I think the visual of a woman getting her hands dirty with the technical work, like in TV, we used to carry the cameras, we used to roll out the cables, we used to do the dirty job, and we used to aspire to do that because visually that was cool. I had just been in TV and I was like, I want to do that. I wish there was that visual in audio of not just women posing pretty with the system, but actually doing the dirty work of setting it up and what goes into it. I wish that visual was put out there. The more we see it, it's beautiful if you look at it often. And I think more women would want to be doing that. It's just cool. Let's just make it cool by putting it out there all the time.
Yeah.
That's it. And I think if you make something, if you see people who are like you doing something, so if you see an industry or a hobby that is full of women or young people, and you think, exactly, that's cool. That's a cool thing. I want to do that. And, if we can do that, if we can, like you say, make it cool, that it's not the whole thing of the booth babes and everything, there's years and years of that we're kind of fighting against. And that has become basically unacceptable now, really. You don't see that. You see people that know about things. They're not just there to look pretty and make the gear look pretty. So if we can fight against that and we can show women and younger people that are here and they're doing this thing and it's a really cool thing. It's cool to be into the tech of it. It's cool to be into designing stuff. It's cool to be into, putting the system together. I mean, I saw a really cool video on Facebook. It was Matt Weisfeld's little daughter, Shyla, and she was here and she was setting up a cartridge, and this is a 7-year-old, you know, and she's been brought up to get the cartridge and put it on. And, you know, more of that. That's like, that is the stuff that is cool, and that is the stuff that people will see and go, yeah, I want to do that. Oh. So...
Now you're giving me food for thought. You know, our employees at Cardas Audio are the most balanced gender-wise that we've ever had, and one of our top technicians is a woman who obviously one of my friends, and so now we're going to be like, Shayla, guess what? You get to be in our you get to be in our promotions now because representation. I fully believe in representation, so I do agree that you're right. We actually have a fairly balanced following on our social media as well. So people are watching. They're definitely watching. I think last call. Is there anybody else who has any questions or anything to offer? Oh, sorry.
Hi, it's just an idea, but maybe not for all of you, but just a general one. So if normal, like women magazines would present more cool stuff, like cool cars and cool speakers and cool whatever, like not only in the GQ or in the men magazines, it would be cool to have some like technical words, not too technical, but you can still Google, and so we would learn something more about everything. That is interesting for everybody, because if I'm interested to buy a magazine for a flight or for a trip by train, I always buy the GQ, because I read all my whatever makeup tips and stuff like my whole life, and it's boring. So yeah. I'm interested in the other stuff, but sometimes it's too technical. So it would be cool to do it step by step.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not too much, but a little bit.
And I will say, Teen Vogue is doing an awesome job. Josh, do you want? Teen Vogue is doing an awesome job of introducing young women to more technical things, including politics and delving into more of that good journalism stuff. So I think they would be a great outlet for that, and it's a great suggestion. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really.
I wanted to add, early on in this discussion, and something I hear often, is that, you know, men are into the technical things and the frequency response and all these things, and women aren't. How do we get women involved? As a man, I'm telling you, I think that's a shortcoming of men. When I hear a guy talking about how many watts his amplifier has, the efficiency of his speakers, and the capacitance of his cables, I think, do you even like music? I want to listen to music that makes it hard not to cry. So perhaps, I'm not suggesting there be a man in audio forum, but if there was, and I was leading it, I would suggest this is our crutch too often. Change the perspective. The default should not be knowing all this stuff. You need to know it. You're an engineer. If you're not an engineer and you know some of these things, get over it. You know, perhaps we should turn the world over to the perspective of, I want it to be easy. I want it to sound beautiful. And that does not mean dumbing it down. Yeah. That means getting it right.
Refocus.
Yes.
It's a lot harder to make something simple.
Yes. Very.
Just with reference to, I've got lots of friends, both male and female, who aren't really interested in good quality hi-fi because they really, the ease of use is just not there for them. So I think ease of use is a good thing for everybody.
And I do believe that ease of use in terms of getting there, starting, and maybe you can find something more, delve into a certain aspect that you like you say, speakers are your thing, is once you get past that hurdle, you can find the thing that's more your thing, but you have to start, you have to be able to turn it on. That's what I've been asking couples that come in. Right. It has to fit in your life. Right. And so it has to be able to, music is in our home 24/7 practically. And that is because it's accessible. And our son has a turntable and he collects records. And, I said that to somebody yesterday and they laughed. They're just like, oh, these kids are buying these records. They don't even know what they're going to do with them. And I'm like, but they're going to figure it out. They're going to say, I bought this record because it was record store day and my favorite artist put out a special album and I wanted it. Now what do I do with it? Cool. Let's start there. Yes. What do you do with it? What's the next step? And I think that doing that education of, you're obviously excited about music. You're obviously excited about this new aspect of things. Like, cool. Let's keep going. What's next? And I do think the what's next is what is our job. All right. Oh, one question back here.
Thank you. As a self-identifying relatively young person who as both young and a woman, I think one thing that we have to think about is how accessible something financially. I think increasingly the things that are being put out into the world are the biggest, the most expensive, the flagships, and increasingly the more accessible devices, speakers, headphones are kind of being put to the wayside. And for someone who is wanting to get into it, having a $70,000 speaker be the thing that is shoved in their face, I think it immediately makes them withdraw.
Yeah, it's really hard.
And I also think that when you go to shows like this, people do bring the more expensive things because they want to show them off. But is there any focus on marketing the more entry level?
It's a hard balance because in terms of having a return on investment, right? You do put your R&D money into those more expensive things, and then the trickle down effect into the smaller things. But I know MoFi had a room at Expona that was super easy. It was speakers and a streamer and a power cord. And that was it. It was like $5,000, and you had everything you need. Again, $5,000 is a lot of money, but it was all in one, and it was a great starting point. So again, you have that system for a few years. It's accessible. Okay, what's the next? What's the next step in terms of that regard? I was going to.
Very important for us. So we keep stretching in terms of streamers and making better sound quality and developing technology. But one thing that I don't want to let go is those more entry-level models that we can still trickle down, refresh, and bring that technology to a more affordable product that people can enjoy. Or else, how do you expect them to enter the hobby and to grow with it? So that's something that is very important for us. It's important that we have, like Angela was saying, that we have the flagships, because that's what keeps stretching technology and research and development. But that is making sure that you trickle that down and you make it more affordable. And it's a continuous cycle that we need to keep doing.
And in terms of, I'm getting lots of ideas, food for thought in this regard, is, we did this amazing, Jana did an amazing video for us that focused on our flagship product. Is it accessible financially to most people? No, it is not. However, it's the most interesting visually, right? So it was the most interesting thing to follow the process beginning to end, how to make it. We have products that start at $100, but we were, criticized online for focusing on this, $10,000 product or whatever. But in terms of, maybe those aren't as flashy, the entry level, but they are important, because once you have someone as a customer in that beginning range, you have them. Don't generally bounce around. Once you have a customer, they generally have a path to growth. That's super important.
That's the reason why it's the reason why although we've over the years moved into high end and higher end audio, but we never let go of what we started with. We still have a Sonos section and B&W wireless section. This is for the younger people to come and have a starting point for, but we also let them look at the rest, have that aspiration that whenever you're ready, this is what you progress to next. But we've never let go of those brands because we don't want to disassociate from where people would start, or young people would start.
Daniela?
I think a big gap is that the younger generation grows up with the earbuds, the smartphones, and when they talk about streaming, it's Spotify. Mm-hmm. So actually the gap between HiFi, what we are all talking about, because we know the next level, they don't know. So this, I think it's also something what needs to be communicated, because it's like, I always explain, like, you just know vegetable from conserves, and they never had the fresh vegetables.
Right.
So this is a gap when you're talking to young people at shows, when they come, or we also did some other shows like design shows to catching, let's say, consumers or make them aware because they love music, but they never would go into a hi-fi shop because for them it's just all about technical stuff, and often they experience not what they expected because there's also sometimes bad, let's say, bad demonstration, or they are not treated like because they are consumers that don't have experience for not having tech talk, and so they are going probably with Sonos and other stuff. But I think this is a big gap because to get these people, even boys and girls, getting into hi-fi, they need to know what they can get out of a hi-fi system. So this is never discussed at most of the hi-fi shows. In the beginning of streaming or hard disk reproduction, when you started, people come into our room and said, "This sounds much better computer audio than I know." And they said they didn't know that they normally listen to MP3.
Yeah.
So, and they were really astonished because nobody tells them.
Yeah, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is a communication, and I think nowadays also, okay, all these people who help us, like YouTubers and influencers, need to, or could be helpful to close the gap. Also, I know from a friend who is amazed because he figured out that there are some female influencers who listen to music, but he explained that they use a complete different language, how they enjoy music and listen to music and give vinyl tips, but the tech, it's not in front. So I think it's many necessary ways to open our market and our business to get the younger generation in general, not only the girls, but also the boys.
Yes,
and I feel that movement is there. We have feedback zone where customers and non-customers can add new features, and we use that for pipeline. And interesting, we had a lot of people asking for Spotify Connect.
Yes.
So that was one of the features we recently added, and the reason was so they were asking for it, so more people from the family could use it because they might have the Spotify, they want to listen to the system. That's a very easy thing. So it wasn't because of sound quality, but was to open up. And it means that there's families out there wanting to do that already. We integrate with Sonos, and it is trying to reach out to allow them to experience it in whatever way they know, and slowly they will experience other things.
And again, I think that it's one of the things that Spotify has going for it. You know, as the owner of a 15-year-old, it's our child has full access to everything. He has full access to LPs. He has full access to a full Qobuz account. We did an A/B comparison in our home with him between Tidal and Qobuz, and he immediately picked Qobuz as sounding better. He uses Spotify. You know why he uses Spotify? Because his friends use Spotify.
Yeah.
His friends use Spotify, and they have the social network. They have the sharing. They have the competition for who has the most hours listened to. They have I'm in the top 2% of listeners for AC/DC. Like, they get that feedback at the end of the year, and it's huge. And they all do it. They all compare. You know, our son was like, came to us and says, "I'm the top 2% of listeners for whatever band he was listening to," and I was, yay. Like, good for you. Like, I don't know how to, great. But again, that is something that the other systems are lacking, that even though they sound better, even though our child knows how to listen and to hear the quality, Spotify wins. So I do think there's room for growth in that department as well.
Because again, he's wanting to do what his friends do, which is just a natural thing, isn't it? So I guess that's back to sort of the peer thing, and like you were saying about influencers and bringing in people like maybe female and young people influencers into the hi-fi products and the head-fi products. So, that it's again seeing people doing what you do, want to do, and wanted to
And
do
want
it.
to share, that experience, and there's a lot of that.
I have two questions, and it's related more or less to the same topic. We're talking about how to bring women into the hi-fi world, and I was thinking that we all know that hi-fi tends to be really expensive, and I think we all know that there's still a gap between salaries between women and men. Could this be a reason why women buy less hi-fi equipment? Maybe it's not because of technical reasons or not because we don't understand it. Maybe we use money in a different way because we don't earn as much sometimes. And my second question is, do you mind or do you care about how many women work in your companies? Because I think this is also something like a way of integrating women into the hi-fi world. And it's not just about buying, but also being part of the, backstage, to say it like that.
Absolutely. I think that we have made a conscious effort to maybe not per se a woman involved, but age in our business. We had a very older leaning population for our employees, and we have seeked out younger people, and they do happen to be women, and we brought them to Expona. So our orders entry girl and our shipping department manager, we put her on her very first plane ride ever from Oregon to Chicago last year. And so that they could experience what this industry even is, because she didn't know. She was boxing up products, right? All day, every day, boxing up products. But to experience and experience this amazing week, and they did. They went home with a whole new perspective on life. How do you feel about how she was talking about the salary gap, perhaps, and how that could affect things?
That's definitely true for India, because usually like I was telling you, I've not heard of a woman cave in any house. It's usually a man cave, because he's the one who holds the power with the money. So most women are not, perhaps, if they're not financially independent, which is the case for a majority of women in India, except perhaps in the urban setting, it's usually the man who ends up taking that decision. And I do see the couples who walk in are usually the ones who are sharing that cost, or the ones who are very involved in the decision making, even if financially it's only one of them sponsoring that. But I don't know how to help that. Of course, this is a situation outside of our control. However, it's just a matter of like how when you buy a car, it's not usually the man who goes out and buys a car on his own. The woman is part of that decision. And I think it's just a matter of making audio also something like that, that you do together. And it's not something that only like, oh, you're the one with the money, so you're going to have a say on it and the other one doesn't, because it's going to the same house. That's what we've been talking about all this while. It's just a conditioning, which is... In India, we can see a lot of people already changing, which is great, but a lot more to do.
Yes.
And I think in terms of how much women earn, usually it's related with a couple of things. One is what they end up studying. And how do we encourage women to study other topics, sometimes more technical jobs often pay better. So allowing them to know there's other things out there, how explore, you can do whatever you want in life, just go for it. So that's one. And the other one I would say is, who do you choose as your partner in life? Because that will cap your career often. So sometimes it's not just what you studied, and it's how much you're allowed to develop yourself to your full potential. So having someone on your side that encourages you and keeps going, it's very important. In terms of women, and you were asking in terms of women and men and diversity in general, I truly believe in diversity. Our customers are not just one type, or within the company we have 12 different nationalities. Women, men, different ages, like you were saying, different backgrounds. We have a lot of people from other industries in our team because they bring a different perspective. We are selling to people that are outside the industry as well. So it's very important that diversity, if we want to attract diverse customers as well. So it's a very good question.
Yes. Good. Yes. Okay. We're going to wrap it up. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to my amazing panel. You did an amazing job today. Thank you.